Hey there, it's winter time on the river, all over this part of the river. Another Riverside chat, and I'm going to go on a little trip here. Hopefully not a big trip, because it's pretty snowy, as you can see. So, there's something else again for the kids, and hopefully for their kids. I want to talk about sticks and stones. It's this old-fashioned saying. I don't know who ever did it, but I think it really has some bearing even today. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Sometimes it says where names will never hurt me. I think it's a completely appropriate saying. Should last for eternity, myself. It really needs to be motivational versus literal. Motivational because it's me, myself. I won't let these words hurt me. Of course, words can hurt, particularly if they're coming from your inner circles, your family, your close friends. It'd be foolish to say that they cannot hurt, but I'm really focused on words and maybe small deeds coming from outside of those inner circles and the ability to deal with them. I'm not talking about physical violence. There's no excuse for that at all. But I'm talking about dealing with things. To say something a little bit controversial, probably. I think everyone needs a bully or two in their life. And the earlier, the better. You probably think, whoa, nobody needs a bully. And I'd say, yeah, they do. Now, hear me out. And again, I'm not talking about physical violence. I'm talking about words and small deeds. The main message, before I get off target, I think that today we're raising more and more kids that lack coping skills. And I don't think social media is helping at all. In fact, I think it's kind of dangerous, to be honest with you. I'm older, and it seems like at least once a week I will see a parent posting on social media about a wrong that was done to their child. And they get a lot of support, you know. And among that support, which is, it's natural, right? But they're making it out in public, and sometimes they're calling out other children, sometimes adults. And in the groundswell of support that they get and the feedback that they get, you know, there's some advice, and sometimes there's even some subtle or overt threats of violence as a way of settling these things. You and I can argue about many things, and I'll debate you sometimes, but something that I have a clear conviction in is that the human being, as a human being, has not changed and will not change being a human being for as long as we exist. We will be imperfect. We're going to have wants and desires. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. We'll make mistakes, and sometimes we'll be mean to one another. And no matter what government we try to form, I don't believe that we can create any government that can legislate the spectrum of people and humanity. Sorry, I'm trying to find my way here. I don't want to get lost. And back to the government just real briefly. That's why I'm not a real big fan of hate speech laws. Of course, I don't like hate speech, but I don't know how you can legislate what people have to say. You know, we've got an amendment that protects us about that. And you know what? Society and social media certainly seems to be handling that task, sometimes in a grotesque fashion. Oh, wow, we've had some trees fall down. What I believe we can do and what we can aspire to is to raise our new generations to be able to adapt to a changing world and society in the face of an unchanging humanity. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, got a duck here, is to not shield our new generations from adversity, but to help guide them through it. I'm not talking about Facebook likes and Twitter followers. I'm talking about parents, relatives, and conversation. Okay. Making my way through some trees here. So, why do I want kids to face adversity? Why do they need a few bullies in their life? I'm going to talk a little bit about the human brain. By the time a child is 6 years old, their brain is 90 to 95% the size that it's going to be as an adult. But most of the energy is coming from the back of the brain. And to be quite honest, a young child is essentially a narcissist. I think Freud called it primary narcissism. They're very focused on themselves and essentially almost fell for their own self-preservation. But as a child develops, huge changes occur, primarily from puberty through adulthood. The brain starts to rewire itself. The prefrontal cortex starts to take on more and more and develop. And that wiring works its way into processing things like planning, consequences of actions, problem solving. But as a youth, prefrontal cortex still isn't completely developed. And so there's a part of the brain called the amygdala, something like that. Amygdala. But anyway, based on my reading, that starts taking on some of the tasks while the rewiring is proceeding onto the prefrontal cortex. Now the amygdala, I think that's the way it is. It also happens to be a part of the brain that's involved in emotion and impulse and aggression. Have you ever seen these things in a teenager? So, as the brain is rewiring itself and the kids are starting to mature, then you start throwing in things like hormones, testosterone. It's a tremendous time for development and growth. It's also a good time for a child to experience some healthy adversity, not diversity. Well, diversity too, but I'm sticking on adversity at the moment. It's a time where they can start to learn with our guidance, with parental guidance, not to sweat the small stuff, to tell the difference between the small stuff and the big stuff, and that maybe, just maybe, that emotional trauma of the day doesn't have to live with you and be an emotional trauma that you carry with you in your life. Of course, we're all going to carry some of those, but carrying every single one is going to be quite a burden. In other words, young adulthood and even prior is an awesome time for sticks and stones. Sticks and stones builds self-esteem. It says, I am more important and bigger than the wrong that was done to me. Another thing, I'm leaning against a tree here. Getting tired. I think, again, probably aided by social media, is that some of the smaller things are being made public events. And to me, how in the world do you demonstrate to your child good coping skills if they see you online bashing their teacher or go on a tirade at the store or supermarket because somebody's got 13 items in the 12 item lane. I think a better example should be more subtle, more direct, and certainly you can let your child witness your calmness. Another item, about 20 years ago, I started seeing things called participation trophies. And awards for excellence began to kind of take a back seat or be eliminated completely in favor of an all for one, one for all. You know, just walking through the door gets you a certificate. I'm all for participation awards, but not at the expense of awards for excellence. I think best case scenario, you do both, right? Awards for excellence are for everyone. The person that gets them and the people that don't. It's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity for the people that don't receive them to have a little humility. Well, you know, maybe I wasn't the best. Not be humiliated, have some humility. There's a difference. And heck, you know, maybe it's even inspirational that, geez, you know, I want to get that award. I'm going to aspire to some of my own excellence. I think as a decent goal in life is you try to hit your sweet spots between self-esteem and humility. How important you are balanced against how insignificant that you are. And I don't think you can get through life with only one of those, and you need a proper balance. And you're going to hit your sweet spots different between your professional life, your work life, your school life, your home life, because you're not the same person in every environment that you're placed into. But the balance, striking that balance is important, because if you find yourself dwelling on your insignificance, then every loss that you face, every time somebody cuts you down, it's going to keep dragging you downward, maybe to the point that you may harm yourself or others or both. I'll tell you what, on social media, there'll always be somebody there to back you up no matter what you're doing. Coping, sticks and stones, is important. Hopefully we can all continue, but predominantly the kids and your kids, to encounter some healthy adversity in their life. You know, someday, remember where we started? Someday, you can get old like me and kind of look back on your journey. So for my generation, peace.